My name is Mr. Moronga Grego. So for today's focus, we are going to talk about methods of feeding fish. But before we do that, let us just do a quick recap of what we learned previously. So yesterday we talked about the different types of fish, like the cavefish and the catfish. So we also talked about the different areas where we find this fish. We actually talked about the saltwater fish and the freshwater fish, but we didn't talk about the feeding. So for today's focus, we are going to talk about the feeding part. How should we feed our fish? Because they also need food, just like how we need food and different diets on a daily basis. It's the same way our fish also need to be fed, isn't it? So before we do that, let's just get a quick concept of what fish feeding is, or what are these methods of feeding fish. So there are different ways of feeding fish. Actually, for these people who normally feed fish, they actually have what we call ponds. It can be a small pond or a bigger ponds. So the method that you all are going to use to feed your fish, it will depend on the size of your ponds. So there are different areas that you have to look at when you are doing aquatic or aquaculture. That is, you being the farmer having the type of this farming system, which is fish farming, isn't it? Now, before we continue, let's just try to look at this concept, fish feeding. Actually, we are going to look at, or we are going to talk about fish feeding. How should we feed on a daily basis to ensure that this fish that we are having, or the fish farming, it's being carried on again and again, and at the same time it's able to bring for you benefits. So there's actually manual feeding, which we talk about the feeding of hens, whereby you as a farmer, you just carry a bucket, or let me say a bucket or a basin which contains, or which is having feeds of your fish. So now you as a farmer, and then you start feeding or disperse this type of, you disperse this feed, the foods of your fish. You just go to a certain pond and then you feed it. Now that one is more of manual. It's like you are using a traditional one by your hands. Now there are some that are considered as systematic. This one, they work as like automatic machines. You have your pond there, and then this machine is beside, or it's just somewhere else close to your pond. And then the responsibility of this machine is just to distribute or to disperse these types of feeds. Now there are different types. Some of the types that I can give you are the pneumatic, which works by air. This one is also is kind of a system design. It's a machine that is designed to disperse pelts or to disperse these fish feeds to feed your fish automatically. So it works by, like, it has a system that is able to arouse or to generate air, and then this air is the one that pushes or sends these fish feeds, example the pelts, towards the fish pond. That is the pneumatic. Remember, we talked about the manual, whereby you as a farmer, you have to distribute with hands. But now we are talking about the systematic one, which works as a machine. So that one is a pneumatic, which works by air. And then also we have the hydraulic, whereby this system, it has the water part, the water system or the water bowl. Now this water is the one that generates the pressure to send the pelts towards the fish pond. And also we have, that is the pneumatic, which works by air, and then the hydraulic, and also we have the air blowers. Air blowers are also more of like the pneumatic, but this one also, it also works by air. There's a system that is designed to generate or to arouse the air to send these certain pelts or these fish feeds towards the pond. So those are the methods that we feed our fish on a daily basis. The manual, and then the systematic one, which works by the machines. It's already a machine that is designed, isn't it? Now, we have looked at the methods, some of the methods, manual and systematic, that we use to feed our fish on a daily basis. So, we also have to talk about you as a farmer now. You want to start your fish farming, isn't it? You want to start your fish farming, but then also there are some of the things that you have to put into consideration before you do or you start your fish farming, isn't it? Now, these are the availability of the space. You can check. Now, me now, as Mr. Moroga, I want to start as a fish farming. Now, what are some of the areas that I have to look at? I have to look first the availability of the area. Now, in this area, the specific area that I have, will it be able to accommodate the pond that I want to come up with? You see that? You can also look at the availability of water. These are resources that we have to look at. Before you start with a fish pond or fish farming, you have to find out the availability of resources that will help you in becoming successful with your fish pond. Because if you don't have water, what is the ideal? What is the ideal of you coming up with this fish pond? There's no need. Because if you happen to start with fish farming, as long as you are dealing with fish, you have to have these resources like the water resources. The water have to be near to allow the adequate supply of water to make sure that your fish don't get dry at any point. You see that? So those are some of the resources that you have to look at. You have to put them into consideration, into your list or into your plan or into your budget. And also the types of feed. You have to put the types of feed into your budget, isn't it? So these are some of the core areas that you have to look at first before you come up with a fish pond. Now, once you have successfully established your pond, you have to know that regarding or containing, let me say, regarding or putting my pond into regardless or into the budget. Now, what type of fish do I really want to come up with? Either with saltwater fish or freshwater fish, just like how we discussed them yesterday, isn't it? So, if I choose to work on freshwater fish, I have to check the availability and the nature of the space or the area where I am. So, there's no way you happen to come up with a let's say you are here in Kabango and you stay in the village, and in the village it's hard to get or to access salt water. And now you as a farmer, you just want to start up with a saltwater, or let me say saltwater fish farming system. Well, you know that you stay in the village, you see, it will become a problem and it will give you that time and it will work on your financing and it will degrade your life at the end of the day. So let me say you have to check the area where you stay. Ne? So if I stay at the village and I want to start up with this farming system, let me say I'll just have to begin with freshwater fish. So I have to collect these fish as small as they are, and then I'll start my fish farming, provided that my pond is well established, and then I have to buy the fish feeds. See that? Now, there are different, let me say, there are different types of feeding. See that? Some they are considered as natural feeding, like just the way we have at the river. That one is natural. The food is already available. See that? And there is one that we consider as supplementary. You see that? Whereby you have your pond, and there are some of the feed that are already available where your fish are already depending on. See, these ones are already natural. But then you reach at an extent whereby you just want to supplement. You see that? You want to supplement whereby you buy just a little, just to supplement on the food that is already available. Natural and then supplementary. You see that? You as a farmer, your responsibility is just to supply the supplementary to the already made food by nature. And also there is one that we consider as complete feeds. So these complete feeds, they have to work with your financing, they have to work with your skills that you have. See that? Because this one you have to buy in bulks, and then you give it to your fish. Provided that there is natural and also there is supplementary in other ways. But if you decide that, no, with me I just want to come up with a pond, provided that how big your pond is, you go for complete feeds. With these complete feeds, it works with financing. So in this way, you as a farmer, you go to a second store, you buy this type of feeds, and then from there, you use these feeds to feed your fish. You see that? So these are some of the methods, and these are some of the type of feedings that we normally use as farmers, provided to the level that you are, provided to the type of farming system that you want to work on. You see that? So there's something also that you have to put into consideration, like the type of fish that you are dealing with. See that? And the type of feeding that you are going to work on, and also the area and your resources. You have to look at this diverse range. You see that? So if you are working on saltwater fish, the more the saltwater, the more the fish number that you are going to start up with, the more the resources you are going to provide, or the more the feeding that you are going to buy. You see that? So you have to work on this. You have to work on this budget before you start up with this type of farming system. You see that? So you have to be wise enough. You as a farmer, you have to be wise enough, and you have to be skillful enough, because it's not all about just you coming with your bucket of feeds, or with your bucket, and then you start distributing your feeds. You have to have the skill that, okay, now I have the pond, I also have the feeds. Now how should I ensure that every fish that I have, it's able to get enough food, so that at the end of the day it doesn't suffocate and then spoil the water system. You see, the freshness of the water also need to be considered in the. So for today, we have talked about the method of fish, the types of fish, and also we have captured the different ways on how you should feed your fish. You as a farmer, how should you maintain your fish farming to ensure a successful growth? At the end of the day, it will end up bringing for you income. See that? So for today's focus, we just basically talked about it. So hopefully, let's hope for next week, and then we'll continue more on this. Thank you. I thank you. So thank you for listening. Let's just try to work more on this one, and then at the end of the day, we'll just continue. Thank you.